Friends, ladies and gentlemen, today we are going to discuss on how to manage lower GI bleeding from surgeon's perspective. In this presentation, I am going to discuss with you various reasons why people present with the lower GI bleeding, how we examine, investigate and treat them with the 4 classical case capsules. Now coming to this problem as it is, lower GI bleeding, as you all know, unlike an upper GI bleeding which happens above the ligament of Treitz, this lower GI bleeding, which is a bleeding from a small gut or a large bowel, is quite uncommon, even if it happens comparatively less severe, and 80% of the people there is a spontaneous cessation, and usually average the mortality in these people are around 2 to 4%. There are 2 types of bleeding we need to understand. One, patient with a classical overt bleeding, they are having obvious frank blood or altered blood PR, or second thing is an obscure GI bleeding. So, these are the 2 entities. In the overt bleeding, when they come with the obvious bleeding, we need to examine the patient to confirm whether the patient is clinically stable or unstable with the hypotension, tachycardia, and if they are unstable, possibly it is because of the major bleed with a drop in hemoglobin less than 10 or requiring a hemoglobin, the red cells transfusion of more than 6 units. If that is the case, we need to admit and address the problem immediately. If there is an obscure GI bleeding, when I mean by obscure GI bleeding, especially when they have endoscopy done, colonoscopy done and both are normal, we are not able to find the source. It could be obscure overt bleeding, that is they have intermittent rectal blood loss obviously, but we are not able to establish the source where from it is coming. Or second is an obscure occult bleeding, where the bleeding is so minimum, you are not able to see patient was only presenting with the FOB positive or a chronic anemia. So, these are the 2 things. Most of the obscure bleeding, the lesion is likely to be more in the small bowel. So, we need to make our efforts to evaluate that small bowel bit more carefully. So, the challenge with us is to know where exactly is bleeding and what pathology is the cause. So, these are the 2 challenges. So, as a surgeon we may not be able to manage, probably we need to have a gastroenterologist, an interventional radiologist and intensivist and a collaborative patient. We need to approach his case. And here is the various common causes in the colon, small bowel and a rectum. As you can see, the diverticulosis and angiodysplasia, ischemic colitis and also inflammatory bowel disease from the large number of cases we see in colon. Diverticulosis and angiodysplasia, in my opinion, the 2 common causes. In small bowel, especially in elderly people in their 60s and 70s, angiodysplasia. Children, if they present Meckel's diverticulum, in their 2nd or 3rd decade, 4th decade, GIST tumor, all these things are possible. And never forget the possibility the patient may be still having a seemingly a simple internal piles or rectal varices or radiation proctitis because of previous radiotherapy for CS cervix presenting as a lower GI bleeding. So, you need to do a proper rectal examination proctoscopy before venture to evaluate for other causes. Coming to the guidelines for managing the lower GI bleeding, these are the 7-step approach I recommend all of you to follow. First, if there is a major bleeding, admit them. If the patient is stable, of course, the ideal investigation is endoscopy and colonoscopy, but if the patient is unstable, not ready for preparation, the best thing is if they are actively bleeding, take them to a contrast CT abdomen and you may be able to find the exact source nowadays with a good contrast CT. Next thing is a transfusion. How much when to give transfusion? We normally have a transfusion trigger, that is if anybody having a hemoglobin less than 7, start thinking about transfusing whole blood or packed cells. If they reach about 9 grams, that is a ceiling target you want to achieve. And these are the investigation which we are going to enumerate apart from the endoscopy, colonoscopy, the imaging starting from a contrast CT, visceral angiogram in a selected cases, even MRI for inflammatory bowel disease. Enteroscopy is now increasingly used, capsule endoscopy find its place, but isotope scan especially in our country is seldom used. even though it is used in Scandinavia very often. Endotherapy is going to be a big leap forward we will take you, because we can avoid unnecessary emergency laparotomy. And when we are going to do any laparotomy, it is going to be precise segmental colectomy or excision of the small bowel. Blind surgeries nowadays should be avoided. And as I said earlier, team approach is the key to success. Coming to the investigation, as I said, starting from the basic blood investigation, usually in upper GI bleeding we all know urea is elevated, whereas lower GI bleeding it is normal. And always see the patient's coagulation profile, then go for in an unstable patient in particular a contrast CT abdomen, because they may have a diverticular bleeding or it may have angiodysplasia. You will be able to see a blush there, or it could be a hyperintense lesion with the increased circulation in the periphery. This is a very classical gist tumor in the small bowel, or if they have a small bowel ischemia, they can have gas in the bowel wall, and also there is no enhancement of the bowel wall. All those classical findings, in other words, quite a few conditions we will be able to diagnose thanks to the very good contrast CT abdomen. Of course, rest of the investigations we see in the case capsules, but as a surgeon you should know where and when we need to do all these investigations. If you are going to plan a colonoscopy, especially a patient with a diverticular bleed, when to do a colonoscopy, take it from me, it could be a diagnostic, at some it could be therapeutic also. And when you do a procedure, very important thing is earlier we do, a better diagnostic yield. Good bowel preparation is the key. So, wait for a few hours for the patient to stabilize, prepare the bowel conventionally. If the bowel preparation is not good, then we can even think of on-table lavage. And classical diverticular, as you can see like this, and it could be there should be a bleeding from a small vessels like this, either deep inside the diverticula. As we all know, it has only the mucosa and the serosa, it lacks the muscles. So, you should be very careful not to use any diathermy. Very often we use like something like a hemoclips in these situations. And a classical colonoscopy finding in ulcerative colitis with the hyperemia, ulcerations or exudations, or in Crohn's disease for example, you will see large ulcers, what we call serpiginous snake-like ulcers like this, and cobblestone mucosa you will be able to see. A patient presenting with the pain along with the bleeding PR, elderly man, ischemic heart disease, it could be a case of a left-sided colitis due to ischemia. Ischemic colitis is a classical presentation, is ulceration mainly in the descending colon. And these are the snapshots of polypectomy site bleeding, like what you see here. 3 days after polypectomy, patient presenting with a lower GI bleeding. When you go in, you are able to see the bleeding, and already as you can see there is a raw area, and prevent further damage by not using a diathermy. Preferably hemoclip will sort out this problem. Malignancy seldom presents as a overt bleeding. They usually cause chronic anemia. So, they can be in various types of ulcers you will see. And one of the rare condition you will see is a patient with the CS cervix or a pelvic radiotherapy. 10 years down the line they come with a significant lower GI bleeding. When you do a colonoscopy, we can see a telangiectatic vessels in the rectum, especially when you do a retroflexion in the rectum, and that is the cause of the bleeding. Coming to the role of capsule endoscopy nowadays, because as I said, an obscure GI bleeding or with a normal endoscopy and colonoscopy, we need to investigate the bowel, the small bowel. The best way, a non-invasive way, is allow the patient to swallow a capsule with the inbuilt camera. It is going to transmit all the beautiful images. You will be able to see the lesion, any villous tumor or even a small worms sucking the blood. All these things you can see a worm cannulating the ampulla. All these small ulcerations, all these things can be easily seen, and you will be able to. Here is a case of an angiodysplasia. So, capsule endoscopy able to diagnose up to 60% of the lesion, the cause of the bleeding, but unfortunately it is only diagnostic. So, it has to be followed by either an enteroscopy or a laparoscopic enterotomy. Coming to the enteroscopy, days are gone where we use a push endoscopy. Thanks to the single balloon or double balloon enteroscopy, or more recent the spirous enteroscopy, we are able to reach almost right up to the ileocecal valve, and it is not only diagnostic but also therapeutic, trying to tackle angiodysplasia or any polyps bleeding. Let me just share with you 3 or 4 case capsules to consolidate the findings or the points I wanted to discuss with you. Coming to the first important thing is a case of a diverticular bleed. Here is a case of a 75-year-old lady with a lower abdominal pain with a frank blood PR, and she presented with a shock. So, of course, a major bleed. Immediately a contrast CT can be done, that might show the lesion. If not, after a few hours with a good bowel preparation, you do a colonoscopy wherein you will be able to see either an active bleeding or a blood clot and a clot with the visible vessels. If they are present, that is possibly the source. Then how to treat? Sometimes you can leave them well alone if there is no active bleeding. Spontaneous cessation is more often is a possibility, but if you are going to do some intervention, the simplest thing is injecting them with a dilute adrenaline. The other thing we can do is a clip application or a suction ligation. For example, here as a Liga clip can be applied right to the base where it is bleeding, or even the whole diverticula can be clipped. These are the two ways of attacking with the hemoclips, or like a what we do for esophageal varices, same principle can be adapted to do a suction banding. Coming to the other case of angiodysplasia, which is quite common in the 70s and the 80s, patient presenting with altered blood PR. Even though the contrast CT will show the lesion where it is bleeding from, but ideal investigation is if it is from the large bowel is a colonoscopy, or enteroscopy if it is from the small bowel, and before you venture into the enteroscopy, a capsule endoscopy can be considered in order to make a diagnosis. Again, spontaneous cessation of the bleeding is the norm, 80% of the people, but if you are going to do an endotherapy, ideal best way is an APC, or consider therapeutic embolization also, and there are people using the biodegradable sponges and coils for that. But recurrence is common in these situations, or if they have multiple angiodysplasia, you may have to consider some pharmacotherapy like estrogen or lanreotide or thalidomide. Coming to the another interesting case we had recently is a small bowel cyst in a young lady presenting with the frank blood PR for 2 days. When we did a CT, it shows a classical lesion here in the distal small bowel, and laparotomy we are able to find exactly a cyst tumor, and we are able to do. But sometimes you can make the diagnosis by enteroscopy also. A laparoscopy assisted segmental small bowel resection or laparotomy may be required on these people. When they proved if it is a case of cyst with all immunocytochemistry, they might require a post-op imatinib. Coming to the last case I wanted to share with you is a post-radiation proctitis. Elderly lady, 10 to 12 years post radiotherapy, usually they present with the bleeding PR, and CT abdomen has to be done. When you do a colonoscopy, classical telangiectatic vessels with a contact bleeding, it will be there. Ideal treatment is an endotherapy, either using APC, bipolar coagulation, or radiofrequency ablation, or even laser. People have tried sucralfate enema, even rectal installation of 4% formalin and hyperbaric oxygen. So, then what is the need for emergency surgery, if you ask me? If a patient who is not able to, you are not able to find the source in spite of all the investigations, then of course you need to take the patient for emergency surgery. And even when the patient is in a Lloyd Davis position, try to do a proctoscopy, an on-table endoscopy to ensure that we are not able to identify. Then do a midline laparotomy. Consider an on-table colonoscopy to carefully look at the large intestine. Then intraoperative enteroscopy to exclude any lesion. So, in spite of all these things, if we still fail, and if we think the small bowel is definitely normal, the likelihood is possibly somewhere in this large intestine, then one may consider a subtotal colectomy, which is a very, very rare situation nowadays in the era of so many different investigations available. So, ladies and gentlemen, lower GI bleeding could be challenging. It is a less common problem we normally deal, but a multidisciplinary approach or a team approach is a key for success. Locating the bleeding site and source is a challenge for us. We have a lot of avenues for investigations. Conservative treatment or endotherapy is now the standard of the care, and we try to avoid a blind colectomy if possible. Thank you.